Get your portfolio last
I just
last
closed
week.
it. I
Get
can't
it out
look
of your
anymore.
system because there was some dead
Oh.
air. I actually had to mute it out when you got to the section when it was clear that you started looking at your portfolio because there's like 30, 40 seconds of just nothing. I was like, Matt, you there? And you're like, I don't know, man. The stocks are way down. So
I mean,
get it out of your system
I've
now.
heard that there's something going on, Matt Ray. What's up with the stock markets?
Hey, then save it for the show. That's for the show. We'll
I thought this was the after show. Was Matt's moaning and groaning.
Oh,
Matt, give us your biggest loser in your portfolio. Give us your biggest loser and biggest winner.
Oh god, let me open the tab back up. Biggest winner is probably still Nvidia.
Nvidia, okay, hardware. You're a hardware guy.
Yeah, I bought chips at a good time. I kicked. Nvidia is my biggest total gain of 40%.
Okay, nice. That's nice.
And my worst is Astra Space.
What is that? What company was that?
They make rockets.
Rocket
and then
not so good, huh?
And then my second worst is Virgin Galactic. They make rockets.
Now, which one is it? That's the Bezos company, or
no, the Virgin guy, Branson.
Richard Branson,
the original and my third worst innovator is Grab, which is like the Uber of Southeast
Indonesia.
Asia.
Yeah, it's great. You can get on a scooter
awesome.
And just like have them drive you around in Jakarta if you're into that.
I mean, it's not a lot, but I started with 6,000 and now I have 1,000.
Oh, that's your portfolio? This is just your entertainment portfolio then?
No. We're talking about my worst performing stocks.
Oh, I see. So that's share. Okay.
Yeah, so down 88%, down 86%, down 81%. Down 76%. Oh, and I did buy some Kathy Wood stuff at one point, and so that's down 68%.
Wow, Matt, you went heavy growth. And you're paying the price.
And Hashi went from up 60 to down 1. So that's a wild ride.
Win. That felt like a win for you, actually.
-1.
Matt, I'm just gonna come in here. Index funds, my friend. Index funds. Just set and forget, baby.
Kathy Woods is an index fund.
Well, let me say a broad. Let me qualify.
You mean not like
an S&P 500, a broad market index.
Yeah.
You know what? Actively managed index.
You want to know how that's doing? Even worse. My daughter bought $500 in an index fund because we were having a conversation about stocks. So she's like, "I want to get in. I'll do an index fund." It's at 460.
That's fine. That's fine. Listen,
I'm going to explain to a 15-year-old girl that she's lost
$500 Matt Ray daughter fund against the Matt Ray stock fund index right now. 10 years. Let's check back. I'm going to take the daughter. I'm going to think the daughter outperforms you.
No, she's only got $500.
Well, I mean, of course, that's relative. I'm not saying you're not going to I'm not talking total absolute. I'm talking about relative return or whatever.
All right.
Percentage, not all right, we have to get going because you have to go, so we should start here soon. Matt, Cote, before we start, just because this is the first topic, I just thought maybe you'd give us like an update from DevOps Days, but if you don't want to do that, I don't want to spring that.
No, that's good. I love talking about stuff I've done firsthand because it means I don't have to research anything.
There you go, exactly, exactly.
And that's a winner.
You can just go. You can talk about whatever you want. Just one. It's actually technically not a sponsor. We're doing a little growth marketing here. We're trading ads with IT Brew, but regardless, one sponsor break. So just wherever you want, like normal.
Okay, sounds good.
Right.
I was just
Matt. Did you get the system out? Shut off the portfolio now. Turn off. Click the browser window closed so you don't get distracted.
All right.
Did you turn it off?
It's closed. Yep. It's gone.
All right.
I won't think about how much money I've lost anymore.
Don't worry. Think about how much money you're making by helping spread the word of Kubernetes on the internet. That's your motto for the next hour.
That's the definition of a day job.
All right, Cote, whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, I'm back to traveling. Now I went on a vacation, and remind me to come back to this phrase I think I invented tonight: the parental vacation. We'll return to that. But it feels like it was so long ago, but it was really just last week and the week before that we had 2 weeks back in Texas. That's why I was not in previous episodes. I was on vacation. However, I did get the chance to see you, Brandon, after a long time.
Yes,
we had Yeah, wait. You know where we went, Matt Ray? We went to El Mercado on Burnett there.
It's a solid choice.
Really old school. Yeah, and it's just like it's so nice going back to a restaurant and you're like, yep, I exactly remember this taste down to the iced tea. It all tastes the same.
I miss iced tea. Wow.
Now you didn't tell me this, Brandon. Maybe it doesn't pop to mind, but we went to Chewy's, and Chewy's now only has one type of salsa, Matt Ray.
Oh man!
And
this is like the fall of the Roman Empire.
Downtown. Was it?
We went to the Barton Springs one. Maybe that's the problem.
No, that's like the OG one. That one should be good.
I'm not having any problem getting multiple salsas, and of course, creamy jalapeno. That's that is also available.
Which is technically like an enchilada sauce, but they'll bring it out.
Now this is
I think it's technically a salad dressing, but it doesn't matter what it technically is. It's great on chips. That's what. That's all that really matters.
It's like the Mexican version of ranch.
Yes.
Now it is, and it's great. Don't criticize it.
No. I'm a big fan.
This is really great to hear that they haven't gotten rid of the salsa, because this was a huge disappointment. And it does also explain when we sat down, they bring you the chips and salsa. And so the salsa they had was it's not a pico de gallo, but it's sort of like a lightly blended salsa.
Sure.
It's not, I don't know how to describe that.
It doesn't have any lettuce, but it's pretty close to salad.
Yes. And
salad.
So when we sat down, I said, could we have the Roja or the red salsa? And then I don't think she actually heard me, because she brought me some creamy jalapeno. And, I wanted the chewy salsa that has a little bits of carrots in it, the standard. And it was not available. And the rest of the food was good, exactly as I remember it. It was tasty. But I was there in Austin. Well, I was on vacation when I wasn't there, but I went to DevOpsDays Austin, where I gave a talk like everyone else. It was, like the other people who gave talks there, I did that. But it was I think this is this true? I think this is the first conference I've been back to actually give. That's not true, because we had a conference. But it's the first not us conference, big general conference that I went to. And it was, I have to say, it's really nice giving talks in person. I think I'd kind of forgotten about this, but giving a talk online, not recommended. It is, it sort of like checks the box of getting some work done, but it's really not at all the same effect. It's, when you have, as we're doing now, when you have people who interact with you, when you're talking to a computer, I think that works. And all those over 20 some odd executive dinner things I did over the past 2 years, people are talking to you there, so that's nice. But just the experience of giving a talk into the nothingness, I think they call that Twitch. If I remember,
hey, we got the people chatting at us in the channel.
That's true.
I'm
that's
excited,
true. This format works.
This format's all right. Well, I'm going to my first in-person conference next month too.
Oh, yeah.
In Austin.
What are you going to?
I'm going to FinOps and the open source summit, which is a big umbrella of conferences.
Yeah. Now I understand why you would be going to FinOps X, but I want to explore this phrase, because I feel like definitely I can see how DevOps Fin
more than a mouthful.
Fin DevOps. I can see how that gets created, but I feel like what's happened now is someone encountered the phrase DevX, and they were like, boom, put the X on the end of there, and now we've got everything. We've got Fin DevSecOps X, which is all about the experience of a fully integrated digital transformation experience.
I don't know where the X came from, but I'm going, and I'm gonna try to take a certification test. Get
for what?
Certified FinOps practitioner. So exciting stuff. Yeah.
Now,
as someone who has no certifications,
given now, I don't want to set you up for this, but given the place you work for, do you get fired if you don't get the certification? Is that what happens?
Don't put that idea in their mind.
Well, we'll have to edit that part out. That's But I imagine
no. I actually was like, hey, as long as I'm going, should I get certified? And they're like, all right, sure, why not?
That makes sense. I was talking with someone and Kim, because we of course, everyone's like, I'm sure you experienced this, Matt Ray. They're like, oh, what's it like not living here? And so we were talking about this, that, and the other, and we were commenting about how we could trade in our driver's license to get a Netherlands driver's license, which is fantastic, right? But then I didn't realize this, but Kim reminded me that we are going to have to take a driving test if and when we come back to get a driver's license again.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking, like, I bet it is harder. Well, maybe not harder, but I bet it's harder than you think when you're, how old am I? 43, like a 43, 44, maybe at the time, 46-year-old taking a driving test, because you're probably like, I got this. And then you find
You're like,
and you find all the things.
Where
that
do I hang my shotgun? Right? And they're like, oh yeah, this guy's serious business.
But I was thinking, now, have your kids would be old enough to take a driving test, right, Matt Ray? Do they do that in Australia?
This is a constant source of tension. My 18-year-old does not have a driver's license and not very interested in it. And I'm like, seriously, you're 18. He's like, what? We got buses, we got trains. What else do I need? I was like, go to IKEA and tell me what you need. Right?
Yeah. Is he just afraid to go to that big Christmas tree of steering wheels that all the war boys have to pick from and like stick onto their car?
He hasn't quite mastered, having flames coming out of his guitar at the same time. So, he's just not ready to drive in Australia.
Yeah. So, but here's what I was wondering. So maybe, I guess there's a different type of driver test there. But I feel like, so the parallel parking test, that's sort of like the, I don't know an analogy. That's like the hardest.
Exam. I'd say that's the final exam of getting the test. Uh-huh.
But I feel like every car nowadays has a rear camera. And like, so do they like get like a 15-year-old car to do the test in? Because if you have a rear camera, like you're either going to have to like, it could be super easy, or maybe you just up the standards, right? Like maybe you've got to be,
that's fine.
Maybe you've got to be like, when you finish this parking job, you must be half an inch from the curb, right? Like that, because really, like, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but that's what I sacrifice.
The parking camera doesn't seem like the big issue here. The one that seems to be the real hack is the car that self parks itself. Like, I've been in one of those cars.
Yeah. Can you take a sit in a Tesla test?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the camera seems like, okay, that doesn't even seem.
I think he's drank the techno Kool-Aid and thinks that he's going to be there before he actually needs to drive on his own. And I'm like, that's not happening, dude. It's been 10 years away since I was 10
or something,
right?
Yeah. I was playing that game with Kim because we actually got some time to spend alone with each other, which I recommend if you have a spouse. You should look into that. But I've mentioned this game that we play, and I was mentioning the game like, imagine that you're reborn with all your current knowledge, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think one of my major regrets is that I didn't get a hardship license so I could drive when I was 15. So that was definitely on my list.
That was an option? Did you live on a farm? What's going on there?
Well, I learned to hack. I mean, it's been long enough. I think I can name it. But my friend Mason, my best friend at the time, the one who drove me around, he had a single mother. And so to qualify for a hardship license, he always kept some laundry in the back of the car. In case he was pulled over, he could be like, "Oh yeah, I've got to help my mom. I'm on the way to do laundry right now." Now that was never tested, but I think that's the urban version.
Oh, that is such the sort of scheme that like high school students would share with each other. Like, dude, just throw some laundry in the back, and if the cop pulls you over, he can't give you a ticket, man.
That's right, and that I think that's like the urban equivalent of what a farm person would do. Like.
Wait. Did Mason also tell you that if you ask them if they're a cop, they have to tell you they're a cop?
Maybe. He was probably also like, you can hide your tall boy in the laundry if anything happens.
I think that's perfect. The hardship. I like it. That was a great segment. I like it. Hardship license. Never even heard of it. Now I'm going to start Googling that.
Yeah, really?
Like, how can you? I also think like no way that laundry thing would have worked. Right? It's just like that would have been like yeah. It would have been like, what? Yeah, sure. You have laundry in the back and you're driving a car. Yeah, no problem. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm sure the cop would be like, you know what? I've got fucking laundry. That doesn't mean dick.
I don't think that would have gotten you very far. So I like it. Hardship license. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. It's a great thing. Who's the sponsor? Our sponsor this week is that same one as last week. It's IT Brew. So everyone that wants a newsletter, stay up to date on news and events in the world of IT. When you're not listening to this podcast, you can go check out their newsletter. They're actually even doing some type of webinar launch. So everyone should go sign up and learn about IT Brew next week.
Now, I don't have a lot of time, but as our streamers delight, to answer a few questions, yes, this is an iron in front of me. I forgot all of my. I haven't after vacation all my gear got all messed up. So like for some reason, or not for some reason, I actually have a lavalier or a lav microphone that I can plug into the laptop. We tried 2 other microphone things. These AirPod Max's mic is not good, but you can see I found the microphone because I'm in Munich at the moment. I mean, I found this iron, and it's a great microphone stand. So there's your pro tip if you're watching the stream there.
Oh, the heavy metal of mics.
Hey, there you go.
Here we go. Right. I'll put it in. There's the picture for those in the chat. I think I finally got the right one. So there you go. You can see the full setup there.
Very technologically advanced, but apparently it works.
All right. Where are we going? Where are you taking it? What's the next?
I'll go to the
DevOps
stock market thing.
Okay, you don't want to talk?
Well, I didn't. I guess I was thinking I didn't actually cover it.
I was gonna say, like, why don't you just give us like, I don't know, maybe like whatever, three interesting things or something. I don't know. Do your thing.
No, that sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, and we have till the top of the hour, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Ray?
Yeah.
Okay.
49 minutes.
Okay. Well, it occurs to me that while I've given out some good life advice, well, I don't know, maybe questionable, we need some teenagers to test out the laundry theory of early driving. Maybe this varies county to county. I imagine if you're in a smaller county, the 2 police officers, if they pull you over, they're probably like, yeah, I don't think so, Ricky. Like, they probably know exactly what your situation is, but whatever. But I didn't actually go over what we did at DevOps Days. And I think, this DevOps Days being the 10-year, I was going to say reunion, but the anniversary, there you go, of DevOps Days Austin. They basically curated a lot of talks that were kind of like, what's up with that? It's let's check in on DevOps. And I think, as I was watching many of them, I mean, there were. It is good to see a review of where you are at the moment. But, I think you have to be a little careful when you're giving one of these talks as a speaker. Like, the main thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing a sort of retrospective talk is that, like, it's really easy to turn into a eulogy. Like, so you gotta make sure to, go over not only the history of what's happened, but you can have some interesting highlights about unexpected things that happened. And then, of course, you have to do the old, I think someone actually, maybe even a few people use this phrase, the old, let's look back to look forward sort of situation. And, I think my sort of filing away of stuff, or at least what occurred in my mind is that, like, yeah, I think I think DevOps is in that situation that Agile sort of was when DevOps came about, where, like, we all sort of kind of get it, and it's like, we sort of kind of like talk about doing it, and it's just sort of like not a big deal anymore as far as like a new and fresh thing. And I think, now that said, like, I didn't watch all of the talks because, I always like to go run off and talk with people. I caught up with our friend No SSH JJ, which was fun. And I feel like maybe, what I encounter is I encounter a role called a DevOps engineer, which I think is like the evolution of I manage the chef and puppet scripts. Like, it's basically like
they dabble in some Kubernetes.
Yeah. I think DevOps engineer means I am in charge of infrastructure that is 10 years old or less, right? Like, you're kind of like,
I think it means you're going to touch a CI/CD pipeline.
Yes. And then there's also, like, that's the advanced DevOps engineer, is that you're building the tool chains and the platforms. But I think it's that gradient of, like, I don't manage like vSphere or other stuff.
No, those
but
are
instead
specialty jobs.
Yeah, like, instead I manage like I'm like the principal of the middle school of IT infrastructure, right? Like, all these kind of 10 years old or less stuff. I guess it's a combo elementary middle school. And I don't know. Plus what you were saying, Matt Ray, like, pipelines, and you might do the sort of like what was it, Ops Fin X. You might do some cost management of cloud, things like that. But I'm not. I don't know. We have
the main takeaway then? Is it sort of like you said before? It's sort of like, okay, it's kind of mainstream. The roles, whether we not. We think it should have, like, DevOps should have a job role. It sort of does. Like, there is a DevOps engineer now.
Yeah.
There is a head of, DevOps, and maybe that's an oxymoron, or maybe that's funny, but like that sort of does seem like the current state of where we've come in 10 years.
Yeah, and I don't. Again, these are like ideas I was having as people were giving talks. Which isn't to say I came up with all of this. It's just to say that, like, I'm not directly quoting. People said a lot of different things, but it's kind of the melange, if you will, this tossed salad that came out of all of it. And I think the other thing that came up a lot that, like, I don't know. I mean, I think I knew this, but I didn't really think about it. Is that, like, all that, like, cultural stuff in DevOps? I think that also is kind of sort of mainstream in the world of IT. Like, everyone kind of knows that you should stop being a jerk. And, like, work with, and
stop being a jerk and start flossing.
Yeah, and like work with people and, like, collaborate with them more. Now, I'm obviously grossly simplifying things, but, like, there really isn't a conversation I have nowadays where, like, people don't talk about, like, culture and people and working together. And there's a lot of other drivers besides DevOps that, like, brought us to that point. But, like, especially in the infrastructure and even in the software development world, like, I don't know. That's like, I feel like that's been the majority of, like, calendar time of the flag, but there's a lot of metaphors here, of the flag that DevOps has been carrying, is just like, yeah, you should treat people like humans and be nice. and all of the detail that comes with it. But, like, that came up pretty frequently. And then, of course, our friend Barton George was there, and just he had a lot of fun quotes and excerpts from the last 10 years of.
Yeah, it's a nice presentation. We should put it in the show notes. Well, Kote, one thing people are asking about in the chat, and I think we chatted a little bit, you gave me a little preview of your talk when you're here in Austin, was the question is specifically, is platform engineer the new thing? And then I think that kind of dovetails nicely. I think you gave, like, a little talk on platforms. So, like, what maybe give us a preview. If they were to hear that platform talk, what would they hear? And what's your take on, is the platform engineer the new DevOps engineer?
I think the answer is yes. I don't know if that exists yet, but I think that's the natural evolution. And, like, that being even beyond what Matt Ray was saying, right? That if the more gifted DevOps engineers work on your CI/CD pipeline, I think the Doogie Housers of DevOps engineers, they go in and they actually, like, build that SRE dream of a platform. What do they call it? The internal developer platform. There's, like, is it yeah, or it's like, is it? It's like
that platform that everybody wants to have internally, and you have the team that services, like, oh, you're going to need this and this, and we'll bring some OpenShift
that, like, product manages it for you. Yeah,
and you have, like, an internal product manager. Yeah, everybody wants it.
And last I encountered, I think it was, like, Ambassador that was, like, doing some thought leadering on this.
That's
like,
a new title.
No, it's the name of a company, right? Ambassador or something. Yeah.
I was about to say, wow. I mean,
no,
I've been an evangelist. I've been, an ops.
Well, man, I think you got to finish your quote. You said, like, everybody wants it, and then I felt like you were going to say something else. But you stopped. Everyone wants the platform, but what, Matt? What is your thought there?
Oh, I mean, that's the goal is, everywhere, every customer, large enterprise I go to, that has more than, like, 2 applications that they're running, eventually they get to the point where they're like, well, we need a platform, so we can start standardizing things, right? We're gonna throw in some Spring Boot. We're gonna pick a language and stick to that. We're gonna have a standardized monitoring and logging and DevSecOps and some CI/CD, and somebody has to maintain that, right? And so every company is going to have that flavor, and that's why that's what all these enterprise companies are selling. They're servicing that internal platform.
So this was that gets to the last part of it. It was nice. I had a 20-minute talk, so I had to pick one point to make, which is as even short time listeners know, is very difficult for me. I'm always very excited to make lots of points. But the one thing I was leading up to, and it wasn't recorded, which means I can give it again another time as if it's the first time, which is great. I think there's a song about that in some like later yacht rock playlist. But like what's nice, the point that I was getting to is that. So here's the slide I ended with. I had a screenshot of Heroku in 2007, and let me tell you, fellas and fellarettes and fells, that if you wanted to find a screenshot of the launch Heroku website, it is impossible. And if you wanted to find an architectural diagram of early Heroku, also impossible. I had to like go into Safari and go to like page 85 of searching the word Heroku to find a book that had like from 2007 or 2008 that had a screenshot of the Heroku interface. Not even the architectural diagram. I don't know what people were doing back there. I mean, you always need an architectural diagram, but it just doesn't exist. And so what I found, so I have that, and the problem was after that I also had, of course, at first I had a picture of Brian Gracely's groundbreaking 2015 diagram of the opinionated platform, right? But then I thought fuck it, I'm going to be commercial, and I found a 2015 version of Pivotal Cloud Foundry as another platform. So then you have that. And then after that, I had a picture of our new thing, the Tanzu application platform on Kubernetes, right? And it's just like, these are just representative. But the point that I'm making here is that we keep reinventing this platform thing over and over again, right? Like we had it over here, we had it in the middle, and then I finally, I've resisted using a screenshot of the famous "A Platform for Building Platforms" tweet until this point, and I finally broke out, and I put that tweet underneath there, and I drew an arrow up between the middle and the last one, and the point being like, and now we're reinventing it again. Isn't that lovely, right? But as I was putting this together, I was thinking like, I should not be so cynical, and so instead of being the old man yelling at Paz, I should instead be like, let's just like remember a little bit more this time when we totally rewrite it. And
let's learn a lesson from history.
And I think it was the influence of one of the major theories we've developed on this very podcast that drove this, which was like, I'm finally at peace with the idea that every 5 to 10 years we have to just completely rewrite systems management and monitoring.
Yeah.
And I guess it's pretty much the same way with these platforms. It's just like you can set a clock to it. It's going to be like 5 to 8 years, and then, just fuck it. We're going to rewrite it. And it's just the way things are going to occur. And I think it's not any one particular, it's just the natural order of things.
Well, it's because nobody who built it 5 years ago is around anymore, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of the thing I was trying to, as they say, look forward to. In the DevOps world, I think probably the next thing we need to figure out is like, let's build out this new platform and just make it a little bit better this time by learning from the stuff that we had. Because I think that's what people want. That's what I hear people wanting all the time, that the DevOps people can deliver.
All right, no ad breaks. So it's good, man. Good.
Oh,
I don't know. You just dead ended it. I thought you were ready to transition. That's all right, though.
You had that look on your face, Brandon. Like, yep, good.
No,
boom.
Listen, I was like, nothing I can add. And no, all right. No, we'll throw another ad. I don't know. We have nothing else to advertise.
You've trained me too well, Brandon.
That's right. No, you're good, man. You're good. So just pick up wherever. Just start something new.
Well, while there is a lot of need to build out new platforms, Matt Ray, you are our resident day trading expert, a regular. What's that guy's name? Brandon Ray Dalio. I think it's
Sure.
Matt Ray Dalio. We have here with us, and what's going on with the stock markets? It looks like if you wanted to purchase like Snowflake or HashiCorp, it's deal season or something. Now's
the time to buy. That's the very optimistic way of looking at it.
Is this something
to buy?
Is this something about the Fed and interest rates, or is China involved? What's going on here?
Well, wait a minute. Well, putting aside like whether or not the stock market's going to go up or down in the long term, I think we have no idea. But I do think the one thing I felt like that was unleashed over the weekend was sort of the content machine of everyone writing about get ready for the downturn and everyone's saying like this was another constant thing. It's like this group of investors, workers, venture capitalists haven't been through a downturn. It hasn't happened since 2008 or hasn't happened since 2000. And it feels very like paternalistic, like, oh, all of you people who haven't, been working or investing since I don't know. I'm just gonna pick 2008.
You think they had this already queued up?
I do. I mean, it just feels
like the Queen's obituary. They're
it's just like it been this
the stock market
avalanche.
Had a great life.
Yeah, I don't know. It does feel like it is. It's sort of like the embargo has been lifted on. Oh, okay, a pandemic that's over. And now it's all about inflation, and it's all about and it does feel to me just like, one, I always think it's funny when I read all this is like nobody has any idea what's really going to happen. That's the only thing I would ever say is 100% true. And two, it does seem like especially the Uber CEO, for whatever reason, he sent out quite a long missive about hiring will be a privilege, and cost cutting is coming out. And every time I see this stuff, I just wonder why are you waiting to send this out now? It seems like you should always be thinking about hiring and how's it adding to your unit economics and making money. So it just feels like to me there's just a lot of just I don't know if I'd call it cheap, but just sort of repetitive of downturn talk that has no new information, right? Like if when the downturn is going to be over, that is great. If you're going to just tell us that you need to cut costs, my question is I don't know what happened 2 months ago. Probably should have been thinking about running your business profitably then. Not much has really changed. So I hate this media cycle.
Everything's different. Yeah. I mean, do you think somewhere he's sitting in his office and he turns and he picks up that hat that says "Wartime CEO" and he puts it on?
I know. Well, I think
my
for
time
sure.
Has come.
The Sequoia memo, if it hasn't already been referenced a million times, geez. It's suddenly, everyone comes out as writes a memo about wartime, referring to it's going to be trouble ahead, which of course is not really wartime. It's not, it has nothing to do with war. It's just sort of, and again, it just seems like the same thing over and over. And I think the Uber one, when he wrote it, he just said that he was I was just meeting with investors. They're happy about this, but they really tell me that earnings are going to be important in the future, and we've got to. And it's well, wait a minute. I think they're always important. And we've got to buckle down. It's wait a minute. I think you always need to buckle down, and then again too. I think the way he was talking about hiring was really the privilege word. I was I don't know. You probably should have had someone proofread that. You probably could have come up with a better word. You could have just said, well, maybe we have to hire slower than anticipated, but I don't know, the privilege just comes across as a very at least for me, it kind of hit me. I was like that. And the other question I always have is okay, now that we're doing all these cutbacks, if that's what needs to be happening, is can we cut down on some of the administrative overhead? Will we have less MBRs? Will we have less bureaucracy because there's less people? And we should maybe thin out some of our processes. And when we do hire, we should do it quick and efficiently and approve expense reports quick. But we shouldn't have a very lengthy review process if we've kind of really made sure we're hiring the right people. I never hear any of that, right? Hey, this is a chance to really kind of think of our internal bureaucracy. But I doubt it. I think you're gonna have all the same reviews and the meetings for meetings. And as Cote, you always talk about the presentation reviews by someone that's going to approve your slides for the conference. It's there's lots of stuff we could take out, I think. And then so why not use the downturn to kind of, if you will, be more efficient?
Yeah, and it's another thing that is always it's like the whatever the negative version of a halo effect is, right? Like a halo effect being something is fantastically successful, and we one sort of gleefully applies causation to things but really it was just who knows why they were successful. It wasn't because they had an unlimited vacation policy. They just their competitors were shit or something, right? Who knows why it worked out well. But there's the negative version of that, which is, and I don't know, I don't remember the Uber letter well enough, but anytime I hear about what investors are telling you, it kind of is this hole in the the stock market reality generator, which is your investors are all hey, we know you're a high growth company and like you should be focusing on growing your market and dominating. But when we go to the rest of the market, the other investors are looking for more cash flow, and the way they're going to be evaluating things is based on the numbers. So like they're kind of dummies, but we have to go along with what they're saying so we can survive because we're more intelligent, so then we can reap the profits when the dummies get happy again. And it's kind of like, are you sure you're not also the dummies? Right? Like, because like you don't really, there's not really a good explanation of why this is happening or how you would escape it. So you're just assuming, as your reflexive, spring-loaded press people say, that there is a flight to safety. And it's like, well, like if everyone's flying to safety, but then they're kind of they're all fleeing because, like, to use a Dave Attell joke, to reference him, he's like, I'll try to Dave Attell it to make it a little family friendly. He's like, if you see a naked man running down the street at full force, you follow that man because whatever's behind him, you do not want to meet. And it's kind of like, so now like all these other investors are all those naked people running down the streets, and you're just like, I have no idea why they're running, but I assume it's bad.
And I agree with that. I think you hit on a lot of good points there. And I think I would just add to it. It's like, you know, in the case of Uber, I mean, it's just a special case. I think it's like people have been questioning the unit economics from Uber since almost the day it was created, right? And so, you know, this should be no surprise that, hey, there's a large group of people that wonder if this is a profitable, high growth business going forward and what the valuation should be. I mean, I don't know. We're at least 10 years into that question. I'm not saying I have the answer, but it just strikes me as odd that like, okay, well, now there's a little bit of a stock market downturn and the CEO with 100% recency bias is talking to investors who are telling him, we're not sure about your unit economics, so we're really concerned about cash flow. It's like you have had well over a decade to address this question and to send out like a very long email. Like that email was like, man, he probably took him like 4 or 5 hours to write this, and or maybe not that long. Maybe it took him like a couple hours to write it and like proofread.
Already had
like,
it written.
It just felt like what's the point? Like, yes, people are asking if Uber is a profitable business going long term. Like since the day you've had this job, they've asked that question. I don't think it's been definitively proven either way. I don't think the fact that stock market down generates you asking the same rhetorical question that everyone has asked about your company. It's like, of course. So I don't know. It's just like, to me, and maybe that's your point, man, it just feels like it's just something reflexive that CEOs do, that ads, that I'm sure he sent it out. And the fact that it's being covered by the press and we're talking about it is probably maybe an indication that it's indication that like for some reason it's important, but it really isn't important. I guess that's my whole point of talking about it.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt Ray Dalio. I think it feels like the only thing that I ever hear in a situation like this is that I don't know how this works, so I'm just going to lay the stuff out on the table, and you know someone else can assemble it. But you have rising interest rates from the Fed, which through a long chain of a system of events that just seems stupid. Right, this makes basically getting a loan more expensive. So it means that if you want to get a hold of cash, it quote unquote costs you more. Now, this is contrary to the way that most Americans are raised, that debt is terrible. Debt is actually awesome. So the way the whole system works is through taking loans at low interest rates. So once it's harder to get a loan, that means there's less cash sloshing around. Because people don't actually only spend, you know, the whole idea of a balanced budget is just bullshit, right? That's not how things operate. But like, because basically it seems, and I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but I think this is like,
but you're not.
The meme that gets out here is the way the economy works is fueled by debt, right? Like the only way that new spend
money has
comes,
to move around, and it doesn't always go up. So it goes down somewhere, and it goes up somewhere else.
So when it's very cheap. When it's people will say zero, you know, effectively zero rates, right? But when it's like, I don't know, what 1 to 2%, is that cheap? Whatever. Yeah. When it's really cheap for the already gigantic, big, wealthy things to get a hold of cash, then of course, you know, you don't have to be profitable. There's just cash you can get around. But so then if the interest rates goes up, what that implies is that now there is no cash because you can't get a loan, and so that means you do the belt tightening, and then I guess and then the assumption is that there's this cascade of like, because there will be less spending, the revenue for all these public companies will be kind of crappy. So people will want to escape those things because the numbers are bad. Now again, They could just decide that it's still worth the same amount of money, despite what the numbers say. But that also means that you shift your money to like different types of investment stuff, which ultimately doesn't really say anything about the businesses that you're moving from.
Not at all.
It's
right.
It's the it's, to use another joke, it's just like, to outrun a bear, I just need to be faster than the other guy, right?
Exactly.
And in this case, Uber is the other guy, and all the tech companies.
Well, so when it became more expensive, so when money was cheap, or free, people had like too much money. It also meant that saving your money didn't do you any good. So you needed to move it to something with higher returns. And that was the stock market, right? And so all this funny money of, hey, the stock market only goes one direction. And, everybody put all their money into there. And now that, we're having a downturn, people are like, I got to put my money somewhere safe and pull it out of the stock market. So everyone's selling, and it all, whether or not those companies are doing well, Amazon, Microsoft, whoever, they all had like amazing record numbers and, $60 billion in revenue and whatnot. And it's like their stock still goes down, so the stock market is not really, it doesn't really have anything to do with it does have things to do with the performance of the company, but the metrics of the company can be perfectly fine. But the stock can still take a beating because everything around you is like, well, we just can't hold this stock. And that's
I've been reading this book, a very short book called. It's not a recommendation because I have a lot of quibbles with it. I like the content and the idea, but it really, boy, there's a lot wrong with it as far as narrative structure. But it's called, I think it's like capitalism realism, and the great idea of this book is just like, well, we just think it's inevitable and there's no other system. And like, not to be all like Corey Iglesias here, but I feel like the situation you just described is like, couldn't we just decide not to do that? Like, it seems like it would be a lot more stable. Like, just sort of be like, everything's cool. Like, no problem. Like, this
I think that kind of brings you to
has
like
the same performance.
But I feel like that's kind of where in some ways where we started. Like in some ways what you just kind of said, there's like consumer sentiment. Consumer sentiment is just people deciding like, I feel happy, I'm going to buy more. I feel, and I just think, while the case that Matt laid out is probably what most people are saying, like, interest rates, it's like the point I would just say going forward is like, really 6-7 months ago, no one was predicting this. I don't know what's going to happen. It would not shock me in a few months if like inflation was way down and suddenly the stock market roars back, or vice versa. Like, and I just think it's always kind of like, if you will, sort of making up an explanation after the fact, right? It's just like, of course we also, because no one was really, a few people were, as always, there's always a few people that are predicting it and get it right. Kind of like Professor Galloway, if you make enough predictions, eventually you hit on one. But, to pretend that like, this is going to be the way it goes forward, because like, as we've already seen with all the crazy stuff, whether it's meme stocks or the pandemic, like sometimes the obvious way you think things are going to play out is exactly wrong, right? So I don't know what's going to happen, but I also think like, kind of back to the Uber thing, or just like this idea of just like laying out the case and just stating kind of the facts in your current situation doesn't really help it doesn't help a company like Uber. Like, you should have been thinking about this all along, just like every company should be thinking about, like, we got to hire when we need it. We need to be thinking about our economics. And it doesn't seem like, just because the stock market moves down, we need to like suddenly like rethink everything. We should be thinking about that all as we go along.
And having, I mean, all of us with the experience we've had with this wonderful show, I think we've all been in the thought leader environment for a while. And you're making me think, Brandon, as if I could speak now to my fellow thought leaders in HR companies, I feel like probably, maybe it's in production and in design. I bet every single HR company is about to publish a lead gen white paper that talks about the importance of hiring people and how hard it is to find them. And I feel like, unfortunately, I mean, I've worked on these white papers. You get right to the finishing line, and it's been like 3 months you've been working on this. But I think now you probably should not publish that, right? Like now, now you need to more move towards like the it's a privilege to get a job.
You put it out as contrarian. Yeah. You're right. And in these hard economic times, now
it'd be like having tough conversations.
That's bold.
Right?
You got to get attention. It's all about eyeballs. Nothing's changed.
Okay.
Not totally.
Okay.
You're gonna see that too. You absolutely are gonna see like, oh, we've just opened 1,000 new recs because now's the time to hire. And and people, and again, for those people that are doing that, it's like, I don't think that makes, like, listen, either you were gonna hire the people before, or you
exactly,
or,
right? You're like,
you weren't. It's like,
I'm
again,
gonna
like,
wait for everything to go to hell in a handbasket.
that's right.
So
Just run
hiring?
the,
Come on.
and again, it's like all these executives, just run the business, like make it as profitable as possible. Keep thinking about that. Don't like, oh, it's so, I went to the stock market and the investors helped me decide this. It's like, you have no idea what you're doing then. Like, why are you in charge? Like, anyone could do your job.
I want to maybe we can perfect this in a few seconds here. We can workshop this. I think an idea for the HR thought leaders is something like, when you're fleeing the public markets, invest in the safety of people, right? Like go to the best. The best investment is people.
Cote, Bloomberg's got some space in their next issue for you.
That is some thought leadership waiting to happen right there.
That's
right.
Bloomberg's probably a little, that's maybe more New York Times. That's a little, that's a little too cutthroat for Bloomberg.
When interest rates make cash too expensive, invest in people.
That's it. You just need 1,000 words.
I don't even know if that makes sense, but I like it.
That tweet, you just need 1,000 words of anything behind that. That's gonna go viral.
You got the headline, now write the article.
Yeah, don't even bother. Make it quick.
I mean, last week y'all brought up. I mean, we haven't worked on this project in a while, but you brought up the software-defined talk, private investment, hedge fund, some ideas there, and I think maybe part of our core competency between the three of us might be coming up with snappy one-liners to encapsulate corporate strategy.
And the best thing is, we can write them in advance for when everything takes a downturn. We'll be like, look, we've got our 6-page memo already written, right?
That's right.
And when things are at the top, we're like, look how great we are, right? And we just always put those out, recycle them. I like how you told me we wouldn't be talking about stocks, Brandon.
I mean, we'll be like, we are investing with confidence in this 30-year-old log management company because we believe that the only thing they lack are a few 20-word statements about what they do, and that's the synergy we're going to be able to bring to the table here. So, good luck to the portfolios out there. Who knows what'll happen?
Keep your day job. That's
right. Well. So I think we have a few questions, Brandon.
We do.
This is a very rare segment that we're going to call questions from the listeners.
All right. So we did. I put it out last week. I figured we'd and we did. And sure enough, we got a good question here. So this is probably a question for Matt, but Cote, you may have some experiences as well. So this one's from Slack. So Chris asked the following: I'm in the process of relocating from the U.S. to Australia. Apple insists that all subscriptions need to be canceled before changing countries. I currently have an Apple One Premier subscription, which includes 2 terabytes of storage in iCloud. Wondering what's going to happen to all those files I currently have stored there when I cancel this subscription and switch countries. Anyone else have gone through this? So I don't know, Matt. You're in Australia.
Sounds like Cote knows.
So. No. I want to.
I don't know. But just because it's Australia,
okay.
I don't know. But maybe anyone can answer that. Go ahead, Matt. You start.
So I was using the free tier of iCloud before I moved, just keeping random small files in there. They give you, 5 gigabytes or something tiny. And so I switch back and forth between them all the time. But the problem is I didn't have subscriptions. So I can't really answer it authoritatively. I can't tell you there were apps in the American store that weren't available in the Australian store. And since I had a credit card in both countries, I could just switch my store back and forth. And so I'd switch to the American store, download my app, then switch back to the Australian store. I don't know what it'll do to subscriptions though. My iCloud contents never changed either way. It didn't care what country I was bound to. Maybe the real question is, if you change your plan from 2 terabytes to 200 gigabytes and then back, what happens to your data? Does Apple hold on to it and give it back to you later? How do they pare down, your 2 terabytes? Do they just delete a random assortment of files for you?
I don't. Well,
hopefully it's like Slack, where they've actually just been keeping everything, hoping to monetize it later.
Cote, have you had any experience? Have you had to do this?
Well, I haven't read the policy in probably a year at least. But when I was looking at this a lot, I don't know. Let me use the simple case. If you are an American moving abroad, change nothing, right? And in fact, before you move, before you move, you got to sign up for a bunch of other stuff, right? Like what you're going to want to do if there's any credit cards you've been waiting to open those credit cards while you're still, it's still easy. If you, I was just thinking of basically there's a name of a service that when you buy a video in Amazon or Apple, it duplicates it between the two of them. Mm-hmm. So you got to, I think that's, so sign up for that service while you're still on an American IP address, because you definitely can't do it in Europe. And then also, now Amazon is the opposite of all this. Amazon is really good at multi-country support. It's actually phenomenal, and it proves that it's not a big deal. Yeah. But I have found that every other service just like has no idea that the rest of the world exists. Well, I shouldn't put it that way. They have no idea. Other companies, Amazon does, but other companies don't have a notion that like people would move to another country, right? So with Apple, there are some things that if to Apple I was in the Netherlands, if I changed my country to the Netherlands, I could get like the Ziggo, which is the cable streaming app. However, when I was reading through it, if I switched my country from the United States to any other country, I would immediately lose the IP for everything that I bought. So it's sort of what they basically do is they just restart you over, which makes sense because there's different IP policies everywhere. But yeah, it's like a really bad idea. Just switch nothing over. And every now and then you'll have to put up with some annoyances, but like don't do it. Like and in fact, just like any expat does when they go back, before you move, like get 2 huge suitcases and load them up with as many American sasses as you can. And just get bank accounts. Just even if you don't need them, sign up for 2 additional bank accounts just so you have them. And make sure you get debit cards, get streaming services. And the reverse of this, I was
phone
actually
number. Make sure you get your phone number. I mean, that's just
now, yeah, exactly. That's the third thing that I finally got on this trip back after many years is I finally got a Google Fi SIM card. They have an eSIM, and it's just like even in this case, I got an eSIM, but being Google, they know if you're not in the U.S. no matter what, really, and they won't let you activate it unless you're in the U.S. So hopefully they don't listen to this podcast. But but you set it up in the U.S. and then you're just set, right? And it just works globally. So you gotta 2 bank accounts. Don't change any of your services except for Amazon. Amazon's totally cool. And also get Google Fi, apply for any credit cards you want, and definitely get like a non-PO box mailing address. You're gonna want to use that a lot.
Well,
and,
one caveat
and then you'll be set.
Yeah, one caveat to the Amazon recommendation is Prime is not going to be useful if you're out of your country.
Prime is crap shipping outside of the US.
So like Prime Australia is relatively new. I think we're on like year 3 or 4 of it. And so I still have all my Kindle stuff is in America. And all my Amazon stuff is in AU because Amazon AU is like, the cheapest Prime in the world. It's like $60 a year. And
right.
Because they rarely ever do next day shipping because, everything's far away. But,
so you're right. I mean, so this is the compromise that Amazon makes is you can have. This is kind of like old identity management stuff where you would link multiple identities, but you can have an identity per country that links back that are all grouped together, and so it's really nice. Like it's kind of hard to find, but you just switch the country you're in, and like it knows it's you, but now it's a different profile of a country. And now the bad thing there is you do have to pay a new Prime subscription per country.
Yeah, so that's why we let our American Prime slip. I don't know if it's single sign-on, but I use the same credentials for US and Australia.
I think, well, at least when I've experienced it, it totally is single sign-on. Like I don't have to re-log in the app. I just switch the thing.
Thanks to iCloud.
Yeah.
All right. So to summarize this for Chris, it sounds like we're going kind of like completely. The recommendation is actually the opposite: is do not do what Apple says. Keep everything the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get yourself set up in your new country, and then only then, once you kind of figure out what you may need, then maybe look at.
Unless it's physical, keep it digital and keep it
digital.
back in the US.
Whoa.
All right, well, Chris, go ahead.
That was a good one, Matt Ray. Unless it's physical, keep it digital.
All right. Well, listen, if you'd like to ask us a question, you either post it in Slack or send the question to questions@softwaredefinedtalk.com. And I'll just wrap up a few other pieces of listener feedback. We won't go through it all today, but several people wrote in after we talked about 1Password that really wouldn't iCloud keychain be the defaults lifestyle, and it would. So it turns out, it looks like there's a lively discussion in Slack. Looks like the Apple iCloud keychain is actually coming out with some nice features that could make it a viable full replacement for 1Password. So
that's what 1Password gets for having a booth at Apple's conference.
That's right. We'll see. That's what happened to them. So we'll see though. Of course, it's not out. It'll have to be iOS 15. So you should join the Slack if you want to read that lively discussion. There was also a lot of discussion on how to maybe sell the family on password management. I don't know if there's any answers in there, but there was like a lot of funny stuff. Also from last week, I want to say Chris also mentioned from Slack that he was all in on our waitlist idea, Matt, that we talked about, but he recommended that be a SaaS. That doesn't need to be a library. It's just a SaaS. I think I agree with them. Probably should be a SaaS, and someone should try to make money on it. So I appreciate everyone's feedback. And then finally, if you would like a laptop sticker that really you can put on a laptop or put anywhere, just send me an email at stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com and just include your postal address. I'll be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world.
I think if you moved your the waitlist thing was great. I think if you moved your waitlist thing to a SaaS, I think you're 3 to 6 months from the phrase air gap waitlist service. Like you're basically just like
someone's like, can we run it on premises? You're like, why?
Yeah.
Probably. That's probably true.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's like I was saying, I've been going to a lot of conferences. We have a ton of them to mention here. There's that conference, which we talk about all the time, is finally coming up at the end of the month. We have a good discount code for CDCon that's going to be in Austin. I have to make a confession. I've kind of been ignoring submitting to conferences for like 3 to maybe 6 months. I think, but I think I'm out of my trough of just like fuddy-duddiness. I gotta get back on that. But of course, there's also FinOps X, which we're going to need a full trip report from Matt Ray.
I'm there. I will have my report. I'm back in Austin. Going to eat a bunch, and I'm going to get certified.
Yeah. But if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/357, there are many other conferences we didn't mention, including the wonderful VMware Explore in late August and Spring One Platform in December that you should check out. But with that, Matt Ray, what do you have to recommend?
Well, I have 2 recommendations. The Planet Money Indicator podcast had a nice little episode about Treasury Series I bonds, which I had never heard of these things. Apparently, they have Treasury bonds that are tied to the Consumer Price Index, which is a shorthand for really close to inflation. So if you had been investing in these things, usually the return is 2%, 1%. It's negligible, but right now it's like almost 10. So if you're wanting to hedge your inflation with a government-backed bond that approaches 10% interest, you can buy these things. So I bought, the maximum you can buy is $10,000. If you're looking to protect yourself from downturns and get a inflation-indexed return, it's not bad. Sounds pretty good to me.
But then now is this the right time to buy that, Matt Ray, or is it too late?
Well, that's assuming you think that
it's not too late. It's not too late. If you want the 10%, you can get in right now, or the 9%, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's like 9.6 or something. But if inflation goes up, that's good. If inflation goes down, that's also good, right? So it's not a bunch of stock picks. It's just an inflation tied treasury bond, which is kind of useful right now.
Win-win situation.
Yeah, hopefully. That's one of my picks. And then my other pick is I got myself a new IKEA Hectar desk lamp. And, it's not particularly flashy, but it's got a USB port and it's got a USB wireless charger. So that's kind of handy. And, it's attractive.
I feel like IKEA is very adjacent to the defaults lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It's sort of. I mean, in fact, there should be a booth at IKEA that's like for a special entrance and discount for the defaults lifestyle people. It's just like
they have a home office section. They're moving into all that stuff. They got chairs, they got mouse pads, they got all that stuff.
I think the strategy there is that, in fact, at IKEA there's too much choice, and so what they need to do is all those little test rooms, they would need to have one room that's the default's lifestyle room, and you can just order it, right?
Well,
and
you could just buy that room, right? You'd be like,
that's what I'm saying. You order
but
everything
the problem
in the room
with
and it gets
IKEA is
installed.
they've got a dozen of those rooms. You're like,
exactly,
this is my default.
Right. So they need to establish that room. It's just the default lifestyle room. You can look at all those other rooms. You can go and get yourself an x86 box. All these other choices. You can go use 1Password instead of iCloud keychain, or you could just use this stack, the IKEA room. Well, my recommendation this week is I have been using when traveling. What I've been doing is I've been using, I think I've recommended this before, but I've rediscovered my love of it. Is I'll have to find what it is, but there are these bricks that you can get that you extend out the adapter plugs from them, and they have 4 USB ports on the bottom. And this new one that I've gotten, it has a USB-C port, and so it's perfect. Like this thing, you can like have whatever international plug you want to go into it. But really, like I've noticed that I use it. I just use it as a normal plug because it's basically like a 5-port USB thing that you can just plug in and power your iPad and everything.
That's
else.
my pick next week.
Yeah. Well, so Brandon, what's your recommendation?
Well, one, I want to just tell everyone that the bond desk at the Software Defined Talk trading firm, it's definitely all IKEA furniture. So if you're applying to be in the bond desk that run by Matt Ray, remember it's all IKEA. So I've enjoyed that. I'm just going to recommend this week. I've been watching the show on Amazon. It's okay. I mean, not great, but it sort of passes the time. Outer Range. It's sort of like Yellowstone meets like science fiction. And I don't know. It's been interesting. So it's sort of if you're looking for something new to watch, something that's sort of I don't know, maybe a little bit out there, but kind of just I don't know, really good scenery. You know, anytime they're in like the Wild West with horses, it's very relaxing. And there's also a little sci-fi element to it. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, check it out. It's on Amazon Prime here in the U.S. and I don't know for everyone else around the world. I don't know where it is, but check out Outer Range.
It's on Prime Australia. I saw it.
Okay, there you go. Well, maybe it's on Amazon everywhere. I hope.
You know, your frequency of TV show recommendations, Brandon, is inspiring for me because it makes me have hope that in a couple of years, I too will have time to watch TV because I know because my 2-year-old will then be a 5-year-old, and it won't. I'll be able to sit there with my wife, which I've had a long, great relationship with. I remember hanging out with her. There was a time, and we can watch these recommendations. Well. If you're just waiting to go discover a new TV show, you will be happy that you've come to the end of another episode of Software Defined Talk. And if you want to get the show notes for this episode, including links to things we recommended, a whole lot of articles and news of things that we didn't have time to cover because we were talking about Apple policy for expats and other things like that, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com. / I forgot the episode number, but that's fine. Just go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/357 and you can find links to those and join our Slack channel. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
All right, well done. I like the iBonds, Matt. Everyone's on that these days. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to check that out. It's been recommended many times. I feel like I got to do it.
And I'm doing the backdoor Roth IRA thing too.
Yeah, well, that one for sure. I just learned about another. There's like a mega backdoor Roth IRA thing.
Peter Thiel version.
Well, not quite there, but there's this other version. So I'll send you the links on that one. It's good though. At this point we're just
what's the Roth IRA back in?
So when you hit a certain amount of income, you're not allowed to contribute to your Roth IRA anymore. And what the backdoor is you can get a traditional IRA and roll it into your Roth IRA. So you could just keep doing the same thing. You just have to add this middleman. And when I went to invest in it, they had all sorts of warnings that it was in the Build Back Better plan to get rid of this loophole. But luckily it didn't pass.
I see.
That's right. Yeah, you can still do it.
Not really lucky. It sucks. But, if you want to contribute, if you want to keep rolling stuff into a Roth IRA, you can do that.
All right. Well, Matt, here's the other one. This is the mega. You want to read about that one?
Mega
backdoor
yeah.
Ross. So
maybe just pull everything out of TD Ameritrade and put it in a Roth.
there you go,
That's
man.
what I'm hearing.
So. All right. Well, do we miss anything on the streamers? Let's see here. I'm trying. Man, there's a lot of chatter. I did miss. I didn't read all this. Day. Hopefully, everybody. JJ's in here. JJ, we're doing our thing in a few weeks. I need to get with you on our preparations. And did we miss anything else, though? Got a lot of good questions in here this week, so it's good. All right. Well, Matt Ray has to go, so I think the streaming is over. Thanks for everyone for hanging out. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week, probably on an arbitrary day and time, but we'll try to be better. So
that's just on my account.
Until then,
I think next week it'll work.
We'll see. Okay. Who knows? All right. Till then, we'll talk to the stream.